Good morning to every Canadian. Happy Canada Day to all Canadian immigrants, to all the homeless people in our nation after COVID-19 epidemics and crisis in our nation. The issue of job challenges, the issue of racial discrimination, racial social differences, the difficulties created by COVID-19 crisis affecting job, affecting incomes of immigrants that's struggling on a day-to-day basis. And today, because of my support, my massive support and vision and support for women leadership anywhere in the world, I would like to congratulate the first, I hope I'm correct, I stand to be corrected, the first female city mayor of the great city of Hamilton, Andrea Hovett. I congratulate you on your preferment as mayor of the city of Hamilton. And I'm glad that a woman had taken over, because like I said in one of my broadcasts, when you educate a woman, you educate a nation. And looking at Bentley Hamilton, I arrived in Hamilton 2005 November after 15 years of stay on one of West Africa's largest refugee camps created by Liberians, the Ghanaian government for Liberians. Over 40,000 refugees who got away from Liberia in one of the most famous ships called Buck Challenger, a ship with 17,000 fleeing refugees from Liberia from the war. Because of the intensity of the civil war at the time, many West African countries refused the entrance of that ship, Buck Challenger, into that nation, until the Father of Grace for Africa and the father of Ghana development, Flag Lieutenant Gerald J. Rawlings, spoke to the Ghanaian parliament. And he said, how can we allow our fellow African to perish in the ocean? On the grounds that people felt that they never knew the difference between civilians on the ship and those are rebels, and the fear was they don't know who they are allowing. But Rawlings, being the Rawlings that he is, he said, we will accept the ship to dock. And the ship docked in Ghana, and they settled Liberians in an abandoned camp. And this is where I stayed for 14 years before coming to Canada, facing my second set of asylum. Number one in Ghana, number two now in Canada. Our miraculous travel to Canada came in the wake of 9/11 against America, when Homeland Security Council ordered those who were qualified to go to the States. And we couldn't go, we got stuck on the camp. And we was despondent. We were discouraged, having the hope that we'll go to America, and then all of a sudden the entire program canceled. Then on the sea of prosperity, the sea of hope, we saw a ship flying the Canadian flag to come and rescue us. And I believe it was Homeland Security who negotiated with UN, with Canadian government, to take those who were qualified to go to the States, but 9/11 canceled, even though they're qualified, so that the Canadian government can extend their humanitarian gestures toward the world and toward Liberians. And with all hesitation, the Parliament granted that asylum to us, and this is how my family came to Canada. And in that being said, how more then can I appreciate Canada? So, before I go further, I would like to let you know that I am a recognized, on paper, legal community activist in the city of Hamilton concerning issues of systemic racism against African Canadian Aboriginal kids. After my participation in a 2-day symposium sponsored by the Osgoode Hall School of Law, York University, Toronto. And after I presented my proposals and presentation, I was shortlisted to become a contributor to the Journal of the Law and Social Policy of the Osgoode Hall School of Law, which enabled me to become the first Liberian African resettled refugee to become a contributor and a publisher. And doing that study, I got to realize that Canada is seen as a melting pot and an ideal nation for immigration and resettlement of disadvantaged people all around the world, including us Liberians who were extended that humanitarian gesture by this great nation, a nation of immigrants. During my 19 years of stay in Hamilton, I realized that Canada, the migration to Canada started from the two great wars, World War I and World War II, Eastern Europe. When migration started from Eastern Europe, apart from the European who came many years ago through Christopher Columbus and settled and discovered this land and begin to settle down. And then after that, the two great wars, you have more additional European coming to Canada to seek asylum. And Canadian, as usual, open their doors to Europeans after the World War I and World War II to come in this nation to have the second chance to live, raise their children, and educate them. The nation, Tommy Douglas and others who have passed the stage of action was able to introduce free health care to Canadians, immigrants, asylum seeker, citizen as well. All you need to do to take a piece of card to the hospital, a piece of card to the hospital in order to get treatment. Oh, I wasn't prepared for this, but I hope I can find it. Oh, hang on there. So you can tell that I just wanted to just honor this nation just with all an unprepared speech. To speak from what I know about this country after 19 years. Anyway, I was looking for my health card, but no, that's the problem. Let's continue. So all you need to show your health card to go to the hospital to be treated. Canada is a great nation. The people are hope. From the day you arrive in Canada, you find people with empathy. Because this is a country of refuge, refugees from everywhere like us who suffer the two great wars and they lose their home. Canada extended asylum to them. But apart from being publisher towards the Canadian child welfare system, in my argument at a symposium at York University, what I said, because I had an opportunity to speak to the McMaster School of Social Work, the class of 54, to speak to them on the issue that I had to discuss and publish. And I talked about, so one of the arguments I put up is that some of the issues that I consider as systemic racism, I realized that it wasn't all that. Even though systemic racism does exist, but some of the issue was people not being sensitive to the culture of other people. Because when immigrants come here, automatically your culture becomes a subordinate culture to a dominant culture. So by the time you arrive here, your culture becomes subordinate, and then the culture or the Canadian culture becomes a dominant culture. But notwithstanding, I felt that every Canadian who had come here with a culture, we're supposed to leverage that culture and integrate it into the Canadian culture, the one that fit in for every citizen based on your rights, your civil rights as a Canadian. We have great Canadians who was willing to take us and help us. I got tremendous help through my church. Because someone advised us that when you go to Canada, connect yourself to a church. And I went and prayed and I asked God that I'm going to Canada, connect me to a church when I get there. And God did answer my prayer. But you know what? Whenever God's people doing the best they can for God, Satan will come creeping in. That's what I know about church and the issue of Satan and his involvement with humankind. But in order to appreciate the education that the church has given me, it started by being a contributor to add my voice to many voices so that we all can make sure that the system, the child welfare system, the social welfare system should fit in for every Canadian that carry the passport. So that was our aim. Not to go against our nation, but rather to speak so that everyone will have to be integrated and have and experience that right, that equal rights that have been given to us. But as we celebrate the independence of Canada 2023, I come back to speak to Senate government, provincial government, federal government, so that we can integrate every Canadian and give them the right to see how we can fight the social disease called racism, systemic racism. When you sound different, people look at you differently. This country, because of immigration is a country of immigrant, people come here before they can start to learn English. People spoke English back to the country and came here, and you have to learn how to speak that Canadian. And because you cannot speak the Canadian, they do not make you less than a Canadian for people to hold your accent against you. This country brought us here to be good citizens. But when you try to be good, when you sound different, there are people who feel that you don't know what you're talking about because you don't sound like them. The Canadian government did not set their skill on you speaking like Canadian before even bringing you here. They brought you here because of the social structure of this nation. And we expect that every Canadian should respect that. If you feel that I can't speak English like you, teach me how to speak it like you. But don't make me feel nasty. Because I felt good when you took me from the refugee camp, and I still feel good. I still appreciate the nation. That's why I've done everything to become a contributor. When I add my voices to the issue of systemic racism, I said it was not all about racism. It was because of people not understanding other people's culture. Young kids coming from university, they don't know anything about parenting. And I also spoke and added my voice to the children in society. For so many decades, they have come to the rescue of disadvantaged kids, orphans, and abandoned kids. They have stood. But I have come here today, in a year from now, couple of months from now, I want one of the major arguments that I put in my proposal was putting the children back into the hands of the parents. And I said that children in society, as good as they are, as great as the children in society are, I don't support the idea of ejecting people's children from home. I suggested that let us put parents on a various categories. If you have children and you own alcohol, it's understandable that we can tentatively take the children from the house and then rehabilitate you as a parent and reintegrate you into the home. Because no one loves a child more than the parent who has suffered, especially the immigrant who have the children on refugee camp that come here and they took care of them. But because the children come and integrate into a street society, social workers teaching them out of the bound that this can happen, this can. So the relationship between the children and the parent has been broken because of the social structure. There may have been reason for that. But what I feel is that we should have, if a children in society, social worker go to a home when they get a 911 call. First of all, send, based on the situation, send mature social workers. Because some of the things that, some of the decisions taken is written on paper. But the human aspect of it, that's what we need to consider. Find out what caused a crisis for the child to call. Because when the children come from Africa, they get spanked. I came across many white Canadians who told me when they were growing up, they got a lot of spank. But in the process of that, a lot of people abused those physical punishment over the period and brought all of this social structure and social law. But in the midst of that, there are still family members who mean well for the children. So we need to find out why that child called. And if because of the parent trying to discipline. Because on refugee camp, we didn't have money to send to school, but here you come, you can go to school. Every parent wants a child to become the best in life. But then, one issue is, if we had the two categories of parents, one is on booze and on drugs, it's understandable that we take the children away with the intention of recovering that parent. In the process, when our parents submit to good parenting and change their social habit, turn away from alcohol and drugs, and then we can begin to slowly integrate the child back, because nobody loves a child more than the parent who has suffered, especially those who come from a refugee camp. So, parent number one, he's okay, he's not on drugs, he's good, he means well for his kid, he wants them to go to school and learn and not to get in contact with bad gang. And if he goes other way to spank your butt, then we can counsel with our father. And just teaching the rules in Canada, we no longer accepting physical punishment. And taking through a month of counseling and let his child stay in our house. And you'll see there will be a difference there. That the child realize that he or she need to respect her parent. Because you don't respect your parent, how you expect to be guided in life? So keep that parent number one, who is a good parent, but because he loses temper and spank that child, keep that child in the room and counsel with the parent, not, and don't take the child out of that home. But it's understandable if you are on drugs and on booze, it's understandable to take the children away, because when you are drunk or you are high, your likelihood who are abusing the child and killing them is 100%. So it's understandable. But then the third aspect of it, when we take these children from the family home, where do we take them? Because if you take my child because you feel that I abuse them and beat them or hate them, take them to a place that they will be better than where you took them from. You cannot take the children to a group home where they turn to the worst gangster, the drug, on drugs, everything you can think about, they into it. So, but those ones that you take from whom that can't go back, then we need to get real parents to help them into social services. And even we put them in home, we got to investigate this home, we got to investigate the culture of the home that we put them in. So that's what my problem is. Because if you take my child from my house, you're supposed to put that child in a place that will be better than where you took the child from. That was my argument. But it's understandable that if the parent cannot help his or herself, it's understandable that we'll take the child. But we should take the children and put them to somewhere better than where we took them from. Why would the children who are taking them and put them into group home, into foster home, some of them turn into criminals, some of them turn into druggies, they turn into armed robbers? That's what my problem, that's what my argument is. So I will celebrate This year, what I wrote about, what I published about, I decided to speak to the nation. And if you understand what I say, take your time and listen. I will post it. If you need to have a meeting with me, or you want me to come and speak, for us to talk, yes, let me know. Contact me through my Facebook page, my YouTube, and then we can have conversation. Invite me to speak on social services. My knowledge. 2020, I graduated from McMaster School of Divinity. And all the courses I did were all master courses. So the issue of getting my full master degree still hanging, still lingering out there. But the knowledge is in me. So I come by this morning to thank this country. You brought us here to be good citizens. I'm only making suggestions. I'm only making an argument that if we take the children from the parent home because they're being abused there, let us put them to somewhere that is better than where we took them from. Else, we work with the parent. If you want your child back, send you on boost. If you promise, you sign a document that you will go off drugs, and we're going to give you a couple of years to go off that drugs and become a clean citizen. And then we'll give you a 1 month trial with the child back in the home. And then while the child, we're going to consult with our child to find out what the problem, why do you get in conflict with your child. When we see the problem, maybe the parent wanted good out of that child and they couldn't see it. So because of that, we took them out. But then it's not because they are that evil, but because they just went against the society norm. So we can work around that. So we send the child back to the home and make sure that we give them a month, and then social worker will be visiting to see how the relationship coming out. Because it's better for the one who brought a child on earth to take care of them. If you put them somewhere, there should be a home where the children will experience better care than where you took them from. But if they go in home and become worse, you put them in group home and they become armed robbers and thieves in the society, then it makes no sense taking them from the parent home. But it makes sense to take them up to be able to work on a parent, to bring them up to real parenthood. Get the churches involved, get social services, the well-meaning social services to involve, consult with our parent, take them, make sure they get off drugs. If you want your child back, you off drug, or we'll take the child. But when we take the children, let them put them to somewhere better than where we took them from. With that being said, I want to say Happy Canada Day to our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, my Labour boy, and the NDP party, because Jack Dayton, I sympathize with the NDP and then the Labour Party, So I just want to wish all of you people, all the party leaders, Happy Canada Day, and member of Parliament. Or if you listen to this video, I'm going to put on YouTube. I would like to have a conversation. Even Parliament, you want me to come speak on my issue, on my publication. If you go to our School of Law, if you just click Isaac Yoyo, ISAACYORYOR,